ND filters. What are they and why do I use them on my drones? Before I explain why I use them, let me explain what I'm trying to achieve. When we see movement with our own eyes, we see a blurred image. Just move your hand in front of your face really quickly and you'll see what I mean. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's what our brains are used to seeing. So when I'm filming, I need to try and recreate that motion blur effect to make it feel more natural. Video is made up from a series of photos. In this case, the camera is opening and closing the shutter 25 times a second to produce 25 frames a second. In order for me to recreate that blurry effect of motion, I need to be able to control how long the shutter is open each time the camera takes a photo. Now, after 100 years of filmmaking, cinematographers and filmmakers have discovered that the most natural movement on screen happens when you have the shutter open for 50% of the time. So if we're shooting a frame every 25th of a second, then I need to set my camera at 50% of that, or 1/50th of a second to get the natural look that I'm after. But look what happens when I do. It's way overexposed because there's way too much light hitting the camera sensor. So there's two things that I can do to compensate. Well, there's three if you include ISO, but let's not go into that now. The first is to close the aperture to reduce the light hitting the sensor. Same as your eye does when it gets too bright. The trouble with that is, these smaller drones tend to have fixed apertures, and even if you could adjust them, it wouldn't be enough. Which brings us to the second option, ND filters. These are like sunglasses for your drone, which means I can get that 1/50th of a second exposure without the drone being blinded by the light. So how does that lot translate into the real world? Well, let's get the drone and go and have a look. Program the drone to fly this exact route every time so that I can compare the footage side by side. So on the left we've got a shutter speed of 1/800th of a second, and on the right we've got the 1/50th of a second that we need. At first glance there's not much difference, but if I hit pause you can see I've got that nice motion blur that I want. Now you might wonder, what's the point? There's hardly any difference. But our goal as filmmakers is to keep the viewer engaged, and anything we can do to stop the viewer getting distracted helps us to reach that goal. Having said that, there's always an exception to the rule, and in Saving Private Ryan, cinematographer Janusz Kaminski used fast shutter speed to great effect in the Omaha beach scene, making it much more intense, frightening and realistic. One of the great side effects of a slower shutter speed is losing these nasty artifacts that you can see here in the shadows. They're caused by the video codec struggling to process all the different colour pixels in a sharp image. Whereas it's much easier for the video codec to deal with the melded colours of a motion blurred image. And don't forget, it's not your whole image that's blurred. The parts of the image that aren't moving so fast are still as pin sharp as they would have been with a faster shutter speed. Just as in real life.